What is NutraMatrix? NutraMatrix is a food education program using our VMaN scoring system, which is designed to improve your overall diet by encouraging you to eat whole food and avoid UPFs as much as possible.
So instead of counting calories, carbs and macros, you score the food on how much it actually nourishes your body. So it's about eating fresh, whole foods and getting variety in your diet. So it's not about weighing out foods and completely avoiding certain food groups. It's just about having an understanding of the food that you're actually putting into your body. So this plan's about feeling like you've got more energy, feeling like you can just be part of eating with your family. And we all have to eat anyway, so why not enjoy what you're eating?
Yeah, it's about it becoming part of your normal life, isn't it?
Mm.
It's a sustainable way of eating rather than dieting.
Yeah, it's definitely not a diet, it's a nutritional education program.
So what are VMaN points? This is the system that we've built NutraMatrix on, essentially the VMaN points. And it stands for vitamins, minerals and nutrients versus calories in a gram of food, which essentially means the more vitamins, minerals and nutrients the food is, and the less calorie dense, then the more likely you are to lose weight using that system.
And but the more VMaN points you get for that item.
Yeah. But it's not just about losing weight, it's about bringing in the mix of vitamins, minerals and nutrients that we need, that are essential to the body for all functions of the body. So we've kind of given an overview of what NutraMatrix is, but the matrix of the NutraMatrix is what it's all about, which Nikki's going to explain now. And this gives us the point scoring system. It applies to VMaN points, but it also explains in detail why foods are certain points.
If you look at the matrix itself, you've got at the top +5 going all the way down to -10. So in +5, you've got most of the fruits and vegetables out there, and whether they're fresh or frozen, they'll still be in group 5. And that's because you're still getting lots and lots of different vitamins and minerals, but you're hardly taking in any calories in that group. So then, but there is a slight exception to that rule, because as we know, there's a tiny few fruits and vegetables like an avocado, dates, olives, things like that, what we've had to put in a 0. And the reason for that is, if you relate it to other fruit and veg, so they're a lot more calorie dense. So therefore, we've popped them in the 0 category.
So they would still be containing all the vitamins, minerals and nutrients that most of the other fruits would contain. However, because of the density of calories within it, that would then push it further down the scale.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
and you mentioned frozen then before, and I think it's important to pick up on that this isn't just all about fresh fruit, it's freshly frozen as well, isn't it? For ease as well, to make it easier to use.
Yeah, because as we know, it's super hard to cook every meal that you eat from scratch. So if there's little cheats along the way, like, frozen fruits and vegetables already diced for you, then definitely be putting them in. Because again, going back to the calories, they still don't contain calories, but they do still contain a lot of good nutrition. Down, we've got +4, so you're still scoring a lot of VMaN points for this category. And it's all things like beans, lentils, chickpeas, any other pulses, barley, split peas, things like that. You're scoring 4 VMaN points for these because, again, like the fruits and vegetables, there's so many good nutrients in there that we do need. They contain slightly more calories, pound for pound. So
essentially, the more calories that you're packing into, the denser they become, the lower down that we're getting on the scale.
Then if you move down to +3, so you'll score 3 VMaN points for every one of these items that you put in there. And there's a slightly different reason why these are in +3 rather than +5, and I'll explain that now. So it's things like fresh or frozen herbs, garlic, ginger, different fresh spices. So we're not talking about dried ingredients now. We'll talk about them in a minute. And the reason it's +3 and not +5 is because you can't actually fill your plate with these. So herbs and spices, you can't make a meal just out of them where you can make a meal out of anything in +4 and +5. So what we don't want you to do is think, right, I'll just take a plain chicken breast and then I'll add some herbs and spices but not eat the vegetables and think that you can be getting all your points.
So when you're scoring these point system then, so if you're putting your fruits and your vegetables in, say you're making a meal, you're putting your vegetables in, it goes on the equal portion of the veg for the +5 then. So you've got to have the same amount of, say, tomatoes and onions, for example.
Yeah, and the same with all of the categories. So the next category down is +2. So you score 2 VMaN points for every separate item of these that you put into your meal. So anything like eggs, lean meat, seafood, fish, offal, anything like that, you're going to be scoring +2 for that. And what you need to remember is if you have, say, 3 eggs, you're still only scoring +2 because you're not getting any other vitamins and minerals. So you don't get 6 points if you have 3 eggs. And these are loaded with different nutrients that we need, but you know, pound for pound, slightly more calories than obviously your fruit and vegetables.
Yeah.
And we want you to be adding the fruit and veg. So you'll notice when we come to the scoring at the end, you'll really notice that if you only have meat and say rice without all the vegetables, there's no way you can't hit your targets.
Yeah.
So it's about always adding the flavour with the herbs and spices and the fruits and vegetables.
But it's about balancing it up as well, isn't it? So
yeah,
it's important to eat everything because we're not restricting anything at all, but you can balance that out by adding more +5s, +4s in.
Yeah. So then in the +1 category, you've got potatoes, yams, sweet potatoes. Then you've also got anything like dried herbs and spices. And the reason you get 2 points less, even though you're adding some of the nutrients, it's that the nutrients have been diminished slightly
in the drying and storage
in the processing.
Yeah, it's essentially a processed herb, aren't they?
Yeah, but you do still get some nutrients. And someone asked me a while ago, if you, let's say you're making a curry, one of the recipes we've got has chaat masala in, and in that there's say 7 different spices, so you'll get 7 points for that because you're still getting all of them nutrients.
Yeah, because each herb within it or spice within it still contains its own unique set of vitamins, minerals and nutrients within it.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is about the mix and the spread of vitamins, minerals and nutrients, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's about getting
about
as
balance.
many in and also getting as many in as possible.
Yeah.
Because we need these vitamins, minerals and nutrients in order for the body to function. So the more we get in, the healthier the body will be.
Yeah, definitely. And then things like tea and coffee are also in there. So then as you move down to 0, so anything in the pluses, the amount of nutrients that you're getting per gram outweighs the amount of calories that you're intaking. But then when you get to 0, we still want you to eat them. They're really good for you. They all contain really good fats, but you also need to know that if you eat from this category alone, you are going to put weight on. So if the only fruit or veg you like is avocado, you're not going to be, scoring 5 points for that. So in this 0 category, we've got all healthy fats and nutrient dense, blends. So we've got things like olives, dates, avocados, nuts and seeds, and lovely extra virgin olive oils, anything like that. And the reason these are 0 is, as we've explained before, the higher in calories, although they contain so many good nutrients, which is why they're only a 0, because we obviously still want you to eat them and we are advocating for you eating them as good healthy fats. Things like nuts are a really good source of protein as well. Also in a 0 is blended vegetables. And it's really important to remember that if you make a lovely vegetable soup and it's all hearty and you've put loads of different things in, as soon as you blend them them vegetables down.
Basically, it's about the absorption, the amount of fibre within the vegetable, and the speed of time it takes to go from the mouth and be passed through the digestive system. If things are blended down, they don't contain the bulk, so it doesn't slow it down as it's going through the digestive system. And the reason that things need to be slowed down is to give the body time to break it down, metabolize it, and take out the nutrients that it needs from the food. If you're already blending it down, it just goes through too quick and the body doesn't get that time to metabolize it. But as I say, we will go into that a little bit further as we go along.
Okay, then down in your -1. So now you'll notice these are all minus numbers, which doesn't mean that we don't want you to eat them and add them to your diet. You definitely should. As long as you're not trying to lose weight rapidly, include everything. Anyway, as we go down, -1, you've got moderately processed grains and your heated oils. So brown rice, brown pasta, sourdough bread, this is all only in -1. So, we still think you should eat it. If you've ate 5 different vegetables, then you score them +25. So to throw a piece of sourdough bread with that, you're only knocking it down by 1 point. So definitely still eat them, but just...
And I think it's worth putting in there as well that it's kind of, in today's society, it's essential that you can eat things like sourdough bread, because for convenience and time, it's often difficult to be able to prepare a full meal for dinner time, isn't
From all pluses, yeah definitely. And then in this category is also heated oils. Now, in 0, we put things like extra virgin olive oil, cold pressed rapeseed oil, but as soon as you heat that up, it changes the chemical composition of the oil, and it changes the properties, the lovely nutrients that are in it, and its effects on your body. So just be aware that if you use an oil for cooking, we do use cold pressed rapeseed oil because it's much cheaper than extra virgin olive oil. But if you see rapeseed oil as an ingredient in something, that would make it a -10, because actually when you look at the cold pressed rapeseed oil, it's quite yellow in colour, so
it's very strong tasting as well.
It's quite strong tasting and looking, definitely. But I mean, it's fine to use in your cooking, no problem at all. Okay, then as we go down, we've got -2, so you're losing 2 VMaN points if you're in this category, which is absolutely fine, because as we say, it's all about balance. So you've got milk and refined grains, so yogurt, milk in your tea and coffee, or white rice, white pasta, and freshly baked bread. So this will be bread that you've either baked yourself and it doesn't have emulsifiers in, because they're in a completely different category altogether. So yeah, things like milk, yogurt, white rice, white pasta. So then down in -3, we've got high-fat animal produce and then natural sugars. So anything like maple syrup and honey, you can still obviously add them to your food, but you've got to be aware that you're losing 3 points for that. Cream, cheese, butter, and then mostly things like red meat.
But again, even like with the -3s, natural sugars in honey is really good for you, and the antimicrobial properties of honey are really good. So even though it's a -3, it's good to get things like this into your diet as well.
Yeah, definitely. And it's about balance, like we keep saying. So if you've got a meal with, you've got loads of lovely herbs and spices, you've got a lovely piece of lean meat or a nice oily fish, and then you've got 5 different types of veg, you're going to be up in the 30s on your VMaN. So if you want to then add cheese to that, or some honey, brilliant. It's just going to make it taste better. It's going to make you want to eat it more. So at no point would we say don't eat anything in the minus categories, but we have them as a minus just so that you're aware. If you're only eating from 0 down to -4, you will gain weight. Then -4, we've got sugar and confection-like items. So anything like freshly squozen fruit juice. If you eat an orange, for example, you get +5 for that. But as soon as you blend it down, it then becomes -4 because the amount of sugar in it to fibre ratio is just way off. If they're not ultra processed, anything like smoothies, bubble teas and dark chocolate is also in -4. And then in -10, the overly processed and got lots of different either food additives, emulsifiers, you know, things like this added to it. So anything that might be a margarine, fat-free, sugar-free, and then most cereals.
It's a food-like product, a UPF. It can't legally be termed as a food. It's a food-like product in which the chemical composition of the food is being altered using a chemical process or a machined process. It's also a food product that's had chemical additives added to it in order to preserve or to lengthen shelf life.
Yep.
And they tend to be high in trans fats and saturated fats and highly refined sugars.
Yes, exactly that. And they tend to be highly addictive, don't they? Because they have got fake sugars, things like that. So
we will go into that a little bit further again as we go on, but just in terms of the matrix, this is the one food that you said before you would recommend eating everything, even in the minus section, but this is the one exception, I would say.
Yeah, it's not really food, so, or shouldn't really be categorised as food, should it? So, but we do believe in everything in moderation. So the reason it's on there is we don't want to say absolutely don't ever eat ultra processed food, don't ever drink fizzy drinks again, because you're going to. And you know, sometimes you're at a kid's party and you've got to eat a hot dog because you're starving. But it's not going to ruin, you know, your meal plan for the rest of the week. So -10 is on there as ultra processed food, but just remember, you know, try and eat it in moderation.
And if you're thinking about averaging scores, it's going to bomb your score, isn't it, in a day? So you can't eat it. Everything, I've just said I would not recommend it because of the chemical properties in it. But in terms of NutraMatrix, you can't eat everything, because the whole thing about NutraMatrix is it's a lifestyle, so it's not a diet. So you've just explained
a lovely way of eating, isn't
and
it?
you've just explained a situation in which you may be unable to avoid ultra-processed food in a kid's
so
party.
don't feel guilty, just...
But you can negate the damage by then over the next few days.
Eat more veg.
Get all your fives in.
If you bought a tuna sandwich from your local supermarket, chances are it's going to have ultra-processed bread, some type of low-fat spread, or tuna, mayonnaise, tuna and sweet corn. So if you add the totals up for that, you've got -10 for your bread, -10 for your margarine, -10 for your mayonnaise, and then +5 for your sweet corn, and +2 for your tuna. Okay, so that adds up to -23 in your VMaN total. Now, if you just switch that out, get yourself a lovely sourdough loaf, your starting point is a lot better, even if you just switch out the ultra processed bread with the emulsifiers in for sourdough bread. But then if you want to go that one step further and turn it into a NutraMatrix tuna sandwich, you can be scoring, say, +20, or always equal portions. So if you get yourself a little bowl and you put a full tin of tuna in it, or you empty your tin of tuna out, then put the same amount of sweet corn, chop up some peppers, pop them in, some red onion, a bit of paprika, some cucumber, and some tomatoes. Then you've just put 5 different types of vegetables. Also, it'll go a lot further on your plate. So where you're wanting of tuna with a blob of mayo and a tiny bit of sweet corn, even if you're making it yourself, might only do 1 or 2 sandwiches. This, because you've actually just, you know, times it by 5. You've bulked it out with all of the veg, which is a lot cheaper than the tin of tuna. Then you're going to add some gorgeous extra virgin olive oil to it, salt and pepper. The oil kind of binds it together, and all of them, like them salad produce, they all make it taste lovely. And honestly, just maybe toast your sourdough bread, put that on, and then you can even put some cream cheese on your toast. You know, if you're worried about it being dry, put some cream cheese on, and you'll end up with a plus 25 or a plus 22 if you've put the cream cheese on sandwich. It's going to taste well better, and also you're then in a rapid weight loss total. So if you want to lose weight, eating that over your shop bought.
But naturally as well, without trying to reduce calories, you've reduced calories, because the most calorific thing in that dish would be the tuna. Mayo. Well, I'd say the tuna.
No, the mayo, definitely, if you think of how much oil's in mayo.
No, sorry, no, I'm not talking... I'm talking about an R one, So obviously the mayo would be the most calorific. But I mean, in a NutraMatrix sandwich, even the fact that you're just reducing the amount of tuna because you're bulking up and you're spreading out the amount of tuna within the vegetables, then you're going to get more people that you can serve with one tin of tuna. So the calories within tuna, which is the most calorific thing, is even reduced. So naturally you're reducing the calories as well.
Yeah. So by always adding more fruit or vegetables to every single thing that you're eating, I think it makes it taste better anyway. But just try it. You know, it won't do you any harm. And actually, if you think that can go from something that's going to put weight on you to something that you can lose weight, and not even just about the weight loss, but you'll feel so much better. Your toilet habits will be much healthier. Everything will be better if you're scoring high on VMaN points.
So as you were saying before about the blended down foods, scoring lower, scoring a 0 on the NutraMatrix, we kind of touched on the reason for that, and I'll just expand in a little bit more detail why it is. So in order to absorb nutrients from a food naturally, it's useful to think about it from mouth down to it passing out. So if you take an apple as a pretty good example. So if you take an apple and you eat an apple, within that apple there's thousands of vitamins, minerals and nutrients, many that we don't even know, but each one of them will have a function for the body. It'll be essential for certain functions within the body, but also contained within that is the parceling to get it down into the gut and then to get it across into the bloodstream. And that's the tissue of the apple, the fibre or the non-digestible part of the apple. And so you'll eat it, you'll crunch it in your mouth, it'll go into your stomach, the acids in the stomach will partially digest and break it up, turn it into a soup. And then as it's passed out of the stomach into the bowel, it's still quite bulky because of the fibre within the apple. So what that does is, as it goes into the bowel itself, it slows it down slightly, which gives the body time to metabolize the nutrients and the vitamins, which essentially just means it gives the body time to absorb them across the bowel, package them into the right packages and send them where they need to go within the body. Then as that goes along the bowel, all the water gets taken out, it gets condensed down, it gets formed into what we call feces or stool, and it's passed out of the body. Now, if you blend this apple down, the amount of apple that you're eating for one apple blended down would be tiny, so you wouldn't get enough juice to get a juice drink out of it. So you blend in way more apples than you need, so automatically
so you end up with about 9 apples.
You're getting
in a
way
glass
too much
juice.
sugar. So straight away there's too much sugar in it.
Yeah, no fibre, all sugar.
But the fiber's blended right down, so straight away there's way too much sugar. So as you drink it, then it goes through the bowel really quickly. So in order to get the nutrients out of the body, thinks, we need to just get what we can. So it'll pull in the sugar, because the sugar is the first thing that you use in order to make energy. It's something called the Krebs cycle, which is way too sciencey, you don't need to go into. But in order to get the nutrients out, the body will just pull the sugar out first. So as it's pulling the sugar out, it'll get all the sugar, and all that lovely vitamins, minerals and nutrients that were in the apple just pass straight out. So you lose it all. So not only are you losing it all, you're getting way more sugar than you should as well.
So you end up with sugar spikes.
Exactly.
And so the reason, as Lee's just said, if you're talking about vegetables, we score them at a 0 if you blend them. But if you're talking about fruit, that's a different matter. Like you've just said, then you'd end up with way too much sugar. So that takes it down to a -4, just like sugar. So fruit-wise, rather than having smoothies or fresh orange juice of a morning, try just eating the orange or eating the apple.
It's perfectly designed. Like nature,
Drink water or tea.
nature and evolution has designed the apple to be perfect over millions of years.
Yeah.
So blending it is just destroying millions of years of evolution.
So on NutraMatrix, there's no free items as such. Anything that's in the zero category, you might think is free. So essentially that's our free food, isn't it? But because they contain so many good vitamins and minerals, even though they contain fats. But if you look at other eating plans or diets that you may have been on, they'll often advocate for drinking diet drinks, you know, diet sodas, sugar-free juice, and then things like fat-free yogurts. But we are totally against that. So I just wanted to tell you a little story about diet drinks. In the UK, we have the traffic light system, and this only refers to salt, fat and sugar in an item of food. So if you look at, say, a diet kind of fizzy drink, for example, then what happens is on the traffic light system, you'll think that that's okay because it scores all greens, and any diet drinks will score greens because there's no salt in it. They have artificial sugars and they have no fat.
So green is good.
So green is good, obviously on the traffic light system, that's a good for go. So if you follow the traffic light system, you have a look at that, you would think that you can drink diet drinks. But what happens when you drink a diet drink is you drink the drink, your taste buds taste the sugar because it tastes like the sugar in it. That then sends a signal down to your gut to say, great, sugar's coming, oh, we love sugar, it's on its way. So that gets your body ready to take in that sugar, so it starts releasing insulin and doing whatever it's doing. And then the diet drink hits your gut, and then your gut starts going, hang on, there's no sugar here. So then it starts going, oh, where's the sugar? And it goes into panic mode because there's something unnatural's happened to it. It's tasted sugar, but it's never arrived. So then it's got to do something to fix the imbalance that's now happening in your gut. So then it says, oh, sugar hasn't come, we need sugar. So then it releases your hunger hormone to tell you that you now need sugar. So it causes a craving. So that's why a lot of people might be addicted to diet drinks. Even though you think you're doing well drinking it because you're not getting the sugar, but actually if you'd had the full sugar version, you'd probably feel satisfied after it, even though it contains so many nasty chemicals.
It's probably safer to eat a full sugar, to drink a full sugar version.
Yeah.
Because from a medical point of view as well, from what we've just said, that would have an impact on things like diabetes as well. Because, as you said, your body releases insulin because it's preparing for the sugar to be taken into the cells. But the fact that there's no sugar there, your body continues to release the insulin, which then wastes. Like, wah! But you also have, you only have a set amount of insulin that you can make because there's only a certain amount of insulin making cells in the pancreas. So by overusing them, you're burning the cells out. So this is why people who tend to drink a lot of sugar-free drinks have high levels of diabetes.
So here are the targets that you'll be aiming for. So with the VMaN points, as we say, it's basically the amount of different vitamins and minerals you want to get into your diet every day. If you are looking for rapid weight loss, you're going to be looking at plus 25 to 30 points on average throughout the day. So if you have a lovely breakfast of, say, poached egg and guac on a nice sourdough toast, you can be getting about plus 25, plus 28 for that. And then at lunchtime, you may have a jacket potato with cheese and beans, again, and a lovely side salad with that. Again, you'll be in the plus, maybe about plus 25. So then if at tea time, you end up having pizza, and if that's a lovely, fresh, homemade vegetable pizza, that might not be too bad. You might score maybe 15 or something. But if you then go on for a frozen pizza, it might be -10 because it'll probably have emulsifiers in the pizza dough. So let's say you've got +25, +28 and -10. That's going to bring your daily average down. So you can do really well at breakfast, really well at lunch, then knock it down in the evening, and you'll end up then maybe with about +14 as your daily average. Whereas if you stick to trying to up your VMaN score at every meal and all the drinks you have, then you can remain in that rapid weight loss total, and you'll just feel so much better. You'll feel dead healthy, you'll have loads of energy. And then moving down the range, you know, if you're aiming for steady weight loss, you'll be aiming to average your VMaN score out at between 20 to 25 each day, or again over the week. And then for weight maintenance, you're looking at a score of 10 to 20 for a steady weight gain. So if you're trying to gain weight, or even if you're not trying to gain weight and your score's in, say, 5 to 10 every day, then that should give you some understanding of why you're actually gaining weight, even though you're not trying to. And finally, rapid weight gain, you're going to be aiming to score every day between 0 and +5, just for a short time until you've gained the weight that you need, and then you'll be on a maintenance. And the same if you're aiming for rapid weight loss and you're trying to score between 25 to 30 every day, once you've hit your target, or your target weight, or once you feel like, you know what, I can be a bit easier on myself now with this, so you're only then going for steady weight loss, you're still doing the exact same thing, but what you then end up doing is going, you know what, I'll add the cheese to me pasta now, or I'll add, milk back to me tea. Maybe you've been drinking tea and coffee without milk. It's always about balance, and once you're on this and you know your range, what you're trying to gain every day, it's so easy to flip between, oh, actually I want to lose some weight for my holidays, so I know I'm just going to cut out the minus numbers for a week, and then take yourself straight back into a maintenance weight. And this was developed because of the way I eat, and I constantly eat in a maintenance weight without really meaning to or knowing it. That's the way I eat every day.
And looking at these ranges as well, there's, although we would never condone or encourage people to take weight loss injections, something like a weight maintenance 10 to 20 would be perfect for people who are already on that, because a lot of the issues with that is you're not absorbing the nutrients that you need. So if you could try and get some nutrients back in even without putting weight on, this could be useful for people who are taking them.
Yeah, so once you've got whatever way that may have been, once you've got to a weight that you're happy with and you feel, that's a healthy weight for you, then you should be. This is a really good way of making sure you're still getting all the right nutrients.
Yeah.
And you're not putting on or losing any more weight. So just to recap on what a VMaN point actually is, it's the amount of vitamins, minerals and nutrients in that item of food versus the amount of calories that's in it. So if you're aiming for 25 to 30 for rapid weight loss for your daily total, that just means you've got loads and loads of vitamins and minerals in that, or lots of nutrients today.
It's the density.
In there.
It's the density of nutrients versus the density of calories, essentially, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the higher your VMaN points, the higher density of vitamins, minerals, nutrients that you're getting on board. So you're flooding your body with these good essential things that your body needs to function.
Yeah, we've designed it in a way that it's super simple to use. So if you're eating vegetables, they're really good for you. If you're eating pulses, beans and stuff, you're getting lots of points from them. And also, if you're adding cheese to everything, then you're taking a few points away. It's about keeping it really, really simple so that you can stick to it, really. Yeah. And it's about food quality, not about being portion obsessed.
So we've talked a lot about ultra-processed foods and about the damage that they can potentially do to the body, but why do we remove them, or why do we advocate for them being removed from our NutraMatrix. So the first thing to look at would be what is an ultra-processed food. So we've kind of touched on a definition earlier on. We said it's a food-like product. It can't legally be called a food because it's been altered so much. But ultimately, they're designed for taste, convenience, and to increase shelf life overall. That's what they come about initially.
Yeah, not for nourishment.
So they weren't for nourishment. It was nothing to do with nourishment. It was in order to drive sales. So they tend to be high in refined sugars, oils. There's a lot of chemicals in there that cause irritation to the body, which are harmful. Extremely calorie dense, as we've kind of touched on before as well. And they're easy to overeat because of the reasons that we've just said.
Yeah, and usually very low in VMaN points, so they're low in vitamins and minerals, which is why we don't advocate for them, because we're all about getting more vitamins and minerals.
So now we know what an ultra-processed food is, or a UPF is, and we've touched on why companies would use them in order to basically increase profits. That's the main driver, make people eat them, increase shelf life so they can store longer in supermarkets.
I'm just going to delve a little bit deeper so you have an understanding. So if you look at 2 items that you buy, so what we often advocate for is real whole food, cooked from scratch, so raw ingredients. If you're always buying raw ingredients, you can't really go wrong. You can see where they are on the matrix. But we need to discuss packet foods and, things that do come in packets anyway. It doesn't mean that if you never eat ultra-processed foods again, anything in a packet is banned. So, for example, there's a massive difference between margarine or spread and a block of butter. So if you look at the ingredients, in this there's 20% buttermilk and some salt. So where you've got 6 ingredients in this, one's buttermilk, salt, colourings, flavourings, and 2 different types of seed oil.
Of hydrogenated oils.
Hydrogenated seed oils. Then in a block of butter, you've got milk and you've got salt, and that's it. So even though this is -3 because it's obviously a solid fat, solid animal fat, we would still advocate for having this over this because of all of the harmful effects of all of the non-food ingredients that you get in there.
And this is a trick of the diet industry, what they use, and the ultra-processed food companies. They'll trick you into thinking that diet is better, because straight away they're telling you it's a diet product. So you think, if I eat this, I'll lose weight. It must be good for me. It must be better for me. Margarine must be better than butter. But the fact that they're ultra-processed makes them more harmful, as we've previously explained. So as Nikki's just said about the butter and the margarine, a good example of how manipulative the food industry can be and how they can trick you into thinking that healthy is good. I like to use an example of a yogurt. I use a natural yogurt in its simplest form. There's lots of natural sugars in there, there's lots of natural fats in there, but loads of vitamins, minerals, and nutrients that are really beneficial, good fats and good proteins. But what the food companies will do is they will take the yogurt, they will strip everything out of it, all the goodness out of it that you need in order to add into other ultra-processed foods. And what they're left with is essentially a thin gloop, which is unappealing. Nobody would want to eat this. So they've made the money because they've took all the ingredients out, they've put that into another ultra-processed food, so they're left over with this product. So they'll fill it full of artificial sugars to make it sweet, but they'll be zero sugar because it won't be real sugar, it's artificial sugar. So they can say straight away it's a sugar-free product.
Going back to the diet drink analogy before, then you still want the sugar because obviously the sugar doesn't come because it's artificial.
Yeah, so it makes you crave. But
so I just want to briefly tell you why I think NutraMatrix works and why it's quite sustainable long term for you and anyone else in your life. It's going to encourage variety in the nutrients that you're eating. It rewards you for eating nutrient-dense foods rather than calorie-dense foods. And it should remove any guilt around if you've ate some ultra-processed food or if you've ate cheese and you've ate butter. It should remove that guilt because you know that it's giving you some good nutrients there. Because you're removing the chemicals, you can also listen to your body's natural hunger and fullness cues. So it's just a much more natural way of eating. And it'll support you having more energy in yourself, because the more nutrients you eat, you know, we already know that the more nutrients you eat, the more energy you're going to have, the healthier you'll feel. It's really sustainable, not only for you in your everyday family life, but also for the planet. So you can know that you're doing well, because we should all be eating more vegetables, cutting down on the amount of animal produce we rely on. I would never suggest not eating animal produce again, but if we're cutting down the reliance on them, finding a reliance on lovely pulses and, you know, beans and vegetables, then it's also cheaper for you.
But it's eating locally as well, reduces transit time of food, so that makes the food fresher, it's healthier, it's better for the environment in terms of emissions from CO2.
Yeah. But again, as we touched on before, it's better for you. Anyway, we ended up developing the VMaN system and NutraMatrix so that everyone knows how to use the system, and whether you're cooking for your family, whether you're in work, whether you're out in a restaurant, you can just make better choices.
Yeah, it's not about delivering the meal, it's about delivering the education to make the meal yourself, wasn't it, really?
Yeah. So you know why you're eating that, and that you want to, and it should fit in with your life. If you've got a birthday coming up and everyone's going out for a meal or a wedding or something, you want to be able to eat.
But I've never known anybody, I've known a lot of people to diet a lot myself in the past, and I've never known anybody who's gone onto one of these specific diets where you're eating bars or you're eating shakes and kept weight off. I've never met anybody who's done it. So while they're on it maybe, but as soon as they come off it, they just revert back to type, because they don't have the education or the knowledge behind what was causing the weight loss or the weight gain.
Yeah.
Usually.
So it's just about eating more veg.
Simple, but that is how simple it is, isn't it? It seems complicated, but all you have to do is just eat more veg and eat more
off the top of the chart.
Eat more fives, more fours, and just put them in.
Don't measure it out. Yeah. Don't weigh anything. Don't count any calories. Just eat the items more off the top of the chart and add small amounts of the things off the bottom of the chart.
It's as easy as that.
It's not rocket science.
If you have a weekend off and you go off the rails, then
eat a banana for your breakfast the next day.
Just hammer the fives, basically.
Hammer the fruit and veg the next day.